All right, welcome back now to our Tri-State Office Furniture Tweet of the Day. And Pony, I'm sure you saw this one. DeAndre Hopkins tweeted this out after the NFL sent a memo to all 32 teams saying that if you have unvaccinated players and it causes an outbreak and you have to cancel games and they can't reschedule, that the team would have to forfeit, the team with the unvaccinated players. So DeAndre Hopkins sent out this tweet. Never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine is making me question my future in the NFL. Tony, where do you stand on this? I know he deleted that tweet since then, but can you blame the players if they don't want to get it or if they can't get it? I mean, how can you fix this?
Okay, so that's a player's prerogative and their personal choice. The league is not, telling them you can't come to work and you can't play this year if you don't get vaccinated. But at the same time, the employer, the NFL, and the 32 teams, they want to protect their assets. And they want to be able to, have a full workforce, get these games in, give themselves the best chance to win on game day. And so they think part of that is the vaccine, that they think that will help avoid an outbreak and a team having to quarantine players and either playing shorthanded or, as the league said today, if you don't have enough players, you're going to have to, this time, forfeit games instead of, moving the games around like they did last year to the Steelers, the Tennessee Titans game, and then the Ravens game later in the year. So that is the NFL's prerogative. They can say if you can't play, it's a forfeit. They've got the CBA, they've got the players' unions cooperation on that. They've signed off on that. So from that perspective, I really don't have an issue with it. If a player doesn't want to get vaccinated, he doesn't have to. But the NFL is saying they're in charge, they're the boss, they're the billionaires. These are the rules, and then act accordingly. That's their prerogative, Richie.
I mean, but it sounds like, I think the Steelers are in the 80 percentile of vaccinations. It sounds like a lot of teams, most players are vaccinated. So if you do have a few that are unvaccinated and get it, it would seem like you can still field a team. You got a bigger practice squad. You have enough players.
Right. And the contact tracing wouldn't come into play as much as it would if you had an unvaccinated player that tested positive, and then the unvaccinated players that he was around might have to go in quarantine as well.
So I think it's a good sign that we're moving forward. Today was the first player interviews in person. I don't think there's going to be too many Zooms, maybe a handful, probably none during the season. I think that maybe this season will kind of be like this, but next season we'll be back to almost like 2019. Do you see it trending that way?
In certain respects, yes. In others, I'm not as sure. I think it'll be interesting if you guys are ever allowed back into the locker room during the week. If in that, maybe they don't, Richie, make it all on Zoom and all virtual. But is it going to be a thing where you only get a chance to talk to 2 or 3 guys every day instead of, having an open locker room with all 50 players in there or whatever? I think that might be different. It's still, in baseball season right now, these guys aren't going into the Pirates clubhouse. So, I wonder about that there might be some alterations that get made, and maybe it doesn't go back to the way it used to be, but it's close.
Yeah, I think there'll be some kind of, there'll be something like maybe a combination, maybe not allowed back in the locker room, like you said, but pulling guys out, kind of like what Baltimore does. They pull guys out and they stand around the field. Maybe you do something like that moving forward. Let's go out to Ed in Monroeville. How you doing, Ed?
Hi, Ed.
Hey, guys. Good evening. I wanted to talk about the player vaccinations in the NFL. We've seen these guys for years do crazy things in order to win. And sometimes those things are illegal things that they get in trouble for. Sometimes it's just crazy workout regimens. But these guys are not willing to get a COVID vaccine to win. That's a joke. These guys are a joke. And if you don't want to play in the NFL, there's the door.
Ed, I think a lot of the guys, though, I haven't seen a percentage of NFL players. I've seen specific teams, but it seems like most of the guys are on board and getting it.
Yeah, not 100% though, Richie. Not even close.
Well, not the world isn't 100%. The Allegheny County's not 100%.
Right. So, I think what we're going to see here is What this is going to do, this new rule, is that it's going to create, I think, conflict in locker rooms where guys that have been outspoken about not getting the vaccine, you're going to have, I think, now what has turned into a political debate. I think you're going to have a lot more of those within locker rooms. I think this is a test for a lot of teams. I think certain teams, maybe they fight about something like this and get over it. But I honestly, and I mean this, I would not be surprised if something like this in the early breeding ground that is training camp where you're supposed to come together as a team, I would not be surprised if there's a team in the NFL this year that looks back on 2021 and says that this was something that put a wedge between us and created enough strife and friction that it kind of threw our whole season out of whack. I think that that's possible, that something like that could happen because of kind of what the caller said. There are going to be fingers that get pointed in NFL locker rooms this year because now it's no longer a personal decision. It's a professional decision that could affect a team's season.
Why do you think DeAndre Hopkins deleted that tweet?
Well, I think probably cooler heads prevailed. I think this is such a hot button topic. It's kind of like the way that Steelers fans reacted to a couple of those Devin Bush tweets, where I would not be surprised if either an agent or someone within the Cardinals organization, their ownership or their PR person or somebody in the front office said, DeAndre, what are you doing here? You're going to alienate a bunch of your fans. You're going to have, people that agree with you, but a ton of people are going to disagree, and your teammates are seeing this too. So I think that's probably where, maybe the light bulb went on and he said, ooh, even though I might feel this way, it's probably not a good idea for me to put that out there into the public space.
All right, well, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls, some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.